All right. Good evening, everyone. On Monday night, it's the Monday night after the AEW pay per view. I got a chance to actually go back and watch it a second time this afternoon. AEW Revolution, and I just want to give my kind of general thoughts, opinions, and things that happened with the show. So I did watch the pre-show, the buy-in. Believe it's called. The Layla Hirsch versus Chris Statlander. Yeah, it was just a match. Totally nothing special. Nothing to take away from that, really, whatsoever. Um, wasn't too exciting, in my opinion. Um, Don Callis came out with Kenny Omega's music. First ever thought Kenny Omega was coming back. And it was just Don Callis saying about how the Bucks are going to win the tag titles and Adam Cole's going to win the world title. And just basically killing time, but bringing him back. So I think Kenny Omega's just a matter of time before he comes back. Then we had a very solid six-man tag with the Malachi Black and Brody King and Buddy Matthews versus Penta, Pac, and Redbeard. Was a pretty decent match. Better than any pretty much Raw match for the most part, in my opinion. So, um, if you didn't see the buy-in, you didn't really miss much except for that six-man tag. Um, but overall, the pay-per-view, the opening match, if I remember correctly, I did not take down notes. I'm just going off of memory after what I saw. Was Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston was the first match. Was very interesting as Eddie Kingston nailed with a suplex right off the bat, knocked Jericho on his you know what, kind of knocked him out for a moment. It's pretty solid match. I mean, it wasn't a great technical match. It wasn't really a fight. Jericho was obviously, even though fans love singing his song, he was kind of the heel in that match, flipping off even the crowd and that a little bit. I'm not saying he's going full heel, but I think for that match, just everybody likes Eddie Kingston, and Jericho's kind of got that. He could go either way. Was a pretty solid match, actually. Pretty good opener, and Jericho actually took the loss in that match, which I think was the right move. Jericho didn't need to win, and it helps put Eddie Kingston, kind of elevates Eddie Kingston a little bit. So, and he finally won the big one. And they did not shake hands after the match. So maybe this is going to continue on. Um, I saw Eddie Kingston today on Instagram had some bruise above or around his eye. So I don't know if that happened somewhere in the match last night. But it was a solid opener. The next match, I would have to take notes. It's so hard to keep track of everything that happened. The second match was the tag team match, the three-way, with the Young Bucks, Red Dragon, and Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Yeah, they seem to kick out of a lot of maneuvers and so on and so on. But overall, it was a great match. Like, it was actually better than I thought it'd be with three tag teams. Like, the Young Bucks and the Red Dragon teased kind of, they were friends at the beginning. And then, a couple of things happened during the match. And then, of course, they start kind of wrestling each other a little bit, tease little things. Obviously, I think it's going to lead to them eventually having a match. But this was a great match. I mean, there wasn't a boring moment at all in the match, to say the least. No matter what you think of the Young Bucks, I mean, it was a pretty damn good match. And Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus retained the tag titles, which was good for them. They, I'm not sure how long they're going to hold the titles for. There's so many great tag teams, but um, it made sense. Thank you to all the viewers that are listening so far. I know, and it's probably like, oh, he doesn't remember all the moves and all. It's just so much happened in a 4-hour pay per view. There's just a lot went on. 4 hours and a buy-in, so it was like 5 hours worth of wrestling. Maybe I should have taken notes, but that's not what this is. I'm gonna end up doing a longer episode with Mach or somebody this week. So the third match was the ladder match for the ring, the Revolution, Face of the Revolution, um, Wardlow was in it. Powerhouse Hobbs, Keith Lee, Christian Cage, Orange Cassidy, Ricky Starks. I'm glad I actually went back and watched this match a second time. I don't know. The first time, I don't know if I got distracted or bored. I don't know what happened the first time. But I thought that the ladder match was kind of ugh at first. But after watching it the second time, like the ladder match actually was not bad. There was definitely some big moves. They teased the three guys, the three big guys fighting each other. Keith Lee freaking tossed Orange Cassidy way over the ropes, missed the guys to catch him on the outside. And I guess Orange Cassidy does have a shoulder injury from that. Not sure how severe. Um, Decent moments in the match overall. I'm not going to complain. It's not one of the greatest ladder matches of all time, but for what it was very good. And the match finished with Wardlow power bombed Ricky Starks, who already had a broken neck, um, off the ladder onto a ladder that was kind of rigged from the ladder to the ropes. And I guess Ricky Starks is okay, which is good for him because, man, he had a broken neck, which Wardlow ended up winning. And he's going to go on to face either Sammy Guevara or Scorpio Sky in 2 weeks on Dynamite's on their St. Patrick's Day show. Pretty sure the next match was the Jade Cargill versus Ty Conte match. It wasn't terrible. It was not my favorite. It's probably my least favorite match on the card. I mean, I know what they're doing with Jade Cargill with the undefeated streak. And I don't know, Ty Conte needs to stop doing the war paint. She's 0-2 when she wears the war paint in title matches. She lost it to Britt Baker when she had the face paint on, and she lost this match. So maybe she should not wear the face paint. I'm sure it's just coincidental because I know she thinks she's going into a war. But yeah, she probably shouldn't do that anymore. It's not does not benefit her to say the least. Um, I'm kind of going back to see what the match order here. Right, 1 second. Okay, the next match was yes, how could I forget? The CM Punk MJF dog collar match. Well, what's up, Curtis? You probably had that message a couple of minutes ago, but thank you. Um, yes, the dog collar match. Wow. Again, so much to say. A lot happened in that match. I mean, they both bled. Punk, I don't know if I'm pretty sure he bladed, but man, he bladed pretty good. He was before that even. They teased MJF came out, Punk's music played for about, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. Everyone's like, oh, CM Punk. And then it switched to MJF's music, and then MJF came out. So it's like playing mind games. And then everyone's waiting for CM Punk's music to play again. And it wasn't his cult of personality. It was his theme from Ring of Honor. And I think some people probably didn't know how to take it because maybe not everybody knew. But after it went, I think people started to realize, oh, hey, that's Punk. He came out wearing his old outfit when he wrestled in Ring of Honor. So it was kind of a not necessarily paying homage, but it was kind of playing mind games. Like MJF had drove him to the point where he's bringing back himself to the way it was in Ring of Honor, basically. Um, then it got into pretty brutal stuff, to say the least. MJF busted up Punk. Punk into MJF. Very physical match. I mean, he turned the chain. Punk had marks from the chain on his back. You were busted open. They did a lot of crazy stuff in that match. Just brutal stuff. And thumbtacks came into play in that match. They both kind of took a little bit of thumbtack action. And then towards the end of the match, MJF called for Wardlow. So Wardlow comes out. MJF's looking from the hand to ring. Wardlow looks in one pocket, doesn't have it, looks in another pocket, looks in a third, kind of shrugs like, oh, guess I forgot it. Just enough to distract MJF. Punk nailed him, I believe it was with the go to sleep. and they're both drained on the on the ring apron, and Wardlow's all of a sudden he looks to his pocket again, and he looks, oh, it's in his right hand pocket, the pocket he didn't look in, and the fans start going nuts, and then he left the ring on by the ropes for CM Punk to grab, and he walked away with kind of like a smile on his face, and the fans cheered. So I'm pretty sure this is like Wardlow officially kind of a face turn, like he's enough of MJF. So I'm sure it's going to lead to MJF and Wardlow feuding. Um, maybe with Shawn Spears. Maybe it'll be a tag match with MJF and Spears versus Punk and Wardlow. I could see that. Um, but CM Punk grabbed the ring, nailed MJF, got the 1, 2, 3. Not sure if it's the end to the feud. Probably should be, even though they only wrestled 3 times technically, and in a tag match or in a 6-man tag they wrestled. So I guess they wrestled 4 times overall. But I'd say this match lived up to hype. It was definitely old school, brutal. I mean, if it had been anything less than a bloody brawl, I think it would have been a very disappointment. And I liked the match even better the second time I watched it than the first time, and I liked it the first time. Um, Probably the match of the night for yes, it's a wrestling match, but it was more of a fight. Now, a real wrestling match, I shouldn't say a real wrestling match, but another good match was coming up a little bit. But after this was the Dr. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa match. Personally, I think the match went too long. I think the fans are drained anyways. There was a bad spot to put that match. That's why personally I would like to see that match be the main event. Because how could you follow that? Like, just, how could you? And it was very tough to us but some of the last few matches actually did pretty well for themselves. But it was a tough spot. Personally, I think the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match went way too long. And I don't know personally, and I know I might take heat for this. I'm not such a big fan of Thunder Rosa. She hasn't impressed me. I mean, yes, they had that bloody match last year, but I don't know. She's just there for me, at least as an opinion. I'm not saying she's a terrible wrestler or anything, but she just doesn't pique my interest. So there was a lot of interference in this match, which I know a lot of people hated. I kind of got tired of it too, but I mean, obviously the reason she did that is to pull out the stops because this is her biggest threat. And in the end, Britt Baker won, which it looks like they're going to lead to in 2 weeks and that St. Patrick's Day show because it's the winner on Wednesday of the Thunder Rosa Layla Hirsch match gets a title match against Britt Baker in San Antonio, Texas, which I think is Thunder Rosa's hometown. So it probably is going to lead to maybe a cage match main event for them. So there's no distraction, no outside interference. And I could see Thunder Rosa taking the title there, which would probably make sense. But personally, I'd like to see Britt Baker still hold on to the title. But if Thunder Rosa doesn't beat her, I don't know who else it would be. So I have a feeling that's going to be Britt Baker's time to drop the title. Um, the next match was John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. And it was a wrestling match, but it was also a hard hitting contest, too. Um, a lot of kicks, a lot of strikes. Um, Not really a lot of wrestling holds. I mean, they did use some submission type moves and things of that nature. Um, Moxley got busted open. I think Danielson. I don't know if he was busted. He was busted open a little bit, but Moxley was bleeding pretty good. Um, was actually lived up to. It was a very good match. I mean, you could put it right up there with the dog collar match in a totally different kind of 2 different types of matches, but I'd say those are probably the top 2 matches for me. Um, Moxley did end up taking the victory, which I thought was the right thing because Moxley finally beat Bryan Danielson. Now, the most interesting thing afterwards was um, Danielson was mad kind of that he lost, and he started kind of getting into it with Moxley a little bit. And security came out, and then the fans started erupt, and they look, and William Regal came out to kind of separate the two because he has a lot of influence in Bryan Danielson, like in his training or modeled himself kind of after him. So in a way, so there's a lot of history there. So he's like separated the two, kind of got in their face, slapped them, kind of gave him a little pep talk. And Danielson slaps like, yeah, you get him, and then turn around and got Danielson slapped him too, and kind of forced them to shake hands. So I don't know if this is going to lead to them finally being a tag team because they did have violence together, they did bleed together. Now they could be a tag team and maybe or a faction. So maybe with Regal, maybe this is going to be the start of it. I could possibly very well see that, and I wouldn't be disappointed. It's nice to see Regal. It's a good place for him to be. So I'm not totally surprised. And I look forward to seeing where they're going to go with that. Now, the next match surprised me. I was not expecting, well, as good of a match as it actually was. I mean, it was pretty crazy. It was Andrade, Matt Hardy, and one of the members of Private Party. Was it Isaiah Cassidy, I believe, versus Darby Allin, Sting, and Sammy Guevara? And gosh, they went all over the ring, doing a lot of crazy moves. It was a crazy match. They went all over the place, all over the arena. They did some, man. Guevara did a Spanish fly to the Isaiah Cassidy off almost like the balcony through some tables, which looked pretty pretty nasty. Sting did a dive off there through a guy through some tables, which is pretty amazing at that guy at 62 years old with spinal stenosis and with his condition that he would even try a move like that. But um, yeah, it was actually pretty awesome. Darby Allin and them got the victory. I'm sure it's slowly but surely going to lead to maybe a breakup and Jeff Hardy coming in. Would definitely like to see that. Oh, and before I get to the main event, I forgot to announce way earlier in the show. They announced that Shane Swerve Strickland, or if people know him as Swerve Scott from NXT, has signed with AEW. This is another good signing for them. Definitely, it's a good place for him to be. And then the main event was Adam Cole versus Hangman Adam Page for the title. A lot of super kicks, a lot of good moves. This is actually a pretty good match. I don't think it was as good as the 6 man the match before. I don't think it was as good as the Danielson. Again, not a terrible match by any means. It was for the title, and I know I'm gonna probably get some heat with some people on this too, but I'm kind of soured on Hangman Adam Page. It's one of those deals where it's like where they say the face it's a better what the chase for the title than it is defending it, and it seems that way for him. It seems stale. Um, in the end, Hangman Adam Page did win. He kept the title, which I figured was going to happen. Um, I thought it might lead to MJF versus Hangman Adam Page at the next pay per view, but the way they're making it seem from after the show is that perhaps CM Punk is going to be challenging for the title. So who knows? Maybe that'll be Punk winning the championship and then him losing the title to MJF. Be something a little bit different. But that's kind of going into the future. So we'll see what happens. Now, afterwards, I suggest people listen to the CM Punk on the media scrum after the pay per view. Man, he talked, he's talking about ROH and the video library and stuff. And he was just talking about how nobody's getting. And he's glad that Tony Khan got it and not another company because we don't get any royalties off that, and that company would just be using more footage for their gain, and the people on the footage are not getting paid out of it. And he said a lot of interesting things in the media scrum. I just people search it up on YouTube. Just look up CM Punk media scrum. Just listen to his segment and just what he had to say. It's actually a very interesting interview. Um, but on that note, I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter, these little clips. But definitely, this is a quality pay-per-view. The best pay-per-view of the year so far. I suggest that everyone check it out, order it, or get the DVD or however you're going to do it. Check the pay-per-view out as very good pay-per-view. Long pay-per-view, but you get your money's worth for 4 hours worth of wrestling, in my opinion. So on that note, I'm sure I'll be doing another video sometime this week when more news or happenings take place. Thanks for everyone for listening, and talk to everybody soon.